Hello, Keller class. It's our history lesson now, and we're going to continue learning about the Stone Age. Last week, you had a look at the BBC Bite-Size programme to see if you could find a couple of pieces of information. And today, we're going to look at a place called Skara Brae, which is where there was lots of evidence found of how people lived during the Stone Age. So let's have a look at and see what we can find out. So we're going to be thinking about what was found at Skara Brae and explain how things were found, some of the things that were found, and what it tells us about the people who lived. So this is a newspaper report by somebody called Thomas MacDonald. We're just going to share it. So the headline says, "Aggressive storm reveals undiscovered Stone Age dwelling." The people of Orkney are used to bad weather, but last night's storm was no ordinary storm. It revealed a secret kept hidden for thousands of years, a site previously inhabited by prehistoric people. Local landowner William Watt was out walking when he came upon this extraordinary sight. "I've been walking these lands for many a year, so the stone clumps that I could see in the distance stood out as strange," explained Watt, 44. William Watt could not believe his eyes as the magnitude of what he had discovered was slowly revealed. Experts had not yet been called to the scene because the landowner would prefer to explore the artifacts himself. William Watt thought that the buildings appeared to be Neolithic, which is from the late Stone Age, around 3000 BC. Remember, BC stands for before Christ, which makes them older than the ancient pyramids, older than Stonehenge, and even older than the Great Wall of China. Who knows what stories will be told as this man digs for information at the site? What we know for sure is that the people of these islands are soon to discover more about this hidden treasure. And that was written by somebody called Thomas MacDonald. So let's continue to find out some information. So what did William Watt find there? He spent 18 years investigating the site, finding 4 houses altogether. Excavations, like the digging, were abandoned after this point. However, in 1925, another storm damaged the houses that William Watt had found. When people began to build a protective wall around the prehistoric buildings, they found more Stone Age homes. So an archaeological dig began, and an archaeological dig is where people dig and try and find evidence from the past. So things that they found out. So Skara Brae provides evidence that Stone Age people were beginning to settle down in one place, making homes and farming rather than being on the move. The people that lived there had started growing their own food and looking after livestock. That means looking after farm animals. And Skara Brae is a remarkably well-preserved Stone Age village built in the Neolithic period around 3000 BC. It was discovered in 1850 after a heavy storm stripped away the earth that had previously been covering what we can see today. And the Orkney Islands are off the north coast of Scotland, and the map and the arrow shows where they are. The remains of 8 houses stand on the site. They were not all built at the same time, so at some point the original village was added to. Apart from one building which stands slightly separate from the others, the layout of the houses is very similar, and the houses were linked by covered passageways. The early houses had a more of a circular shape. There was one main room with a fire pit in the middle and beds built into the walls at the sides. Each house also had a set of stone shelves called a dresser. The later houses were slightly bigger and more rectangular, although the corners were still rounded. They still built stone beds, but not into the walls. The fire pit and the stone shelves remained. Although the doorways seemed very small to us, Early humans were shorter than we are today. Lower doorways would also have helped to keep the weather out. The doors were stone slabs and could be bolted shut. Unlike the other houses all built closely together and linked with the passageways, House 8 stands alone. It has a carved patterns on the walls, no beds or shelves, so it could have been a workshop or a meeting place, or simply built at the site at a later date. There are no windows, but there may have been a smoke hole in the roof. There would have been some light from the fire. As wood was scarce on the Orkney Islands, they were more likely to have burnt seaweed, dried animal dung and peat. Scarce means there's not a lot of it. The floor area inside would have been between 36 and 40 metres square. Some people today who live in small apartments might have the same living space. With straw and heather to make mattresses and animal skins for blankets, it would have been relatively cosy, at least compared to the outside. The walls of the houses were built against midden piles of discarded rubbish that would have protected the walls from the elements, as well as provide a layer of insulation. Insulation is something that keeps you warm. None of the houses have a roof, so they must have been made from something that has since perished. That means it's disappeared, it's worn away. A common early roofing material in Orkney was seaweed, mixed with ropes and stones. They could also have straw, animal skins or turf laid over a frame of driftwood or whale bones found on the shore. Let's have a look at what else was found. Animal bones, including cattle and sheep and barley and wheat grown nearby, suggest it was a farming community. There were plentiful remains of fish and shellfish, indicate that they were also skilled fishermen. Large piles of limpets were found, but these weren't necessarily part of their diet. They may have been used for bait, used to help catch something else. The lack of weapons that they found suggested that it was quite a peaceful life. They weren't attacked. Richly carved stone objects might have been used for religious rituals. Bone tools, along with the absence of tools for weaving, indicate that animal skins were used for clothing. Many examples of jewellery were found, including pendants, pins, necklaces and beads. So we're going to look at now our task. So in 1925, Skara Brae was the focus of an archaeological dig to reveal the rest of Williams Watt's site. And your challenge is you're going to write a news report from 1925 explaining what the archaeologists have found so far. So this is what I would like you to do. So you'll need to pause the video now. So looking at the format, it says, "Good evening, my name is," and you're going to fill in your name. "And I am bringing you news about," and that's where you're going to explain that there's an archaeological dig at Skara Brae. And then you've got a question to ask, why is Skara Brae important? So you can look back on the video and see why we think Skara Brae is an important site. And then I'd like you to write 6 facts that you have found about Skara Brae from the video. Please send a picture of your work on Dojo so I can give you your Dojo points. I'm really looking forward to reading your newspaper reports. Good luck, Keller class.